Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brian coming to you once again from the TST Industries garage. Today we have a customer's 2017 Kawasaki Ninja 650. He wanted us to remove his OEM fender, but when he did that, he realized that he would also be removing his OEM signals, and with no place to put them back onto, we came to him with our pod signal mounting kit, which is right here. These small brackets with some hardware. That allows you to run signals such as the ARO18 or something like this BL6 signal. Very clean, very elegant solutions. Now, if you are going to go ahead and replace the rear signals on this motorcycle, you are also going to want to look into a flasher relay. When you throw on LED signals in the back in place of those incandescent bulbs that came on it, you are going to trigger a hyper flash. That's your bike trying to let you know that you're missing a signal. We know you're not, you just installed new ones. So our relay is going to take care of that issue for you. We'll cover that installation in another video. This video is just going to pertain to the installation of our pod signal mounting kit and our BL6 signals on one of these fender eliminator solutions, whether it be our standard, our Elite 1, which is the standard and the closeout, or our Elite 1 adjustable, which is the adjustable bracket and the closeout. Each one of those options is going to allow you to mount our pod signal mounting kit and thus BL6. Now, one more part that I do want to touch on specific to this Kawasaki are these plug converters. They have bullet connectors on one end and OEM Kawasaki on the other, allowing you to go straight from your signal, bullet connector, plug and play. Very easy, very simple. We took care of it for you guys. So without any further ado, let's get our fender eliminator on here and that pod signal mounting kit as well. All right guys, so we're gonna start by actually assembling our pod signal mounting kit, which is gonna come with these two brackets and some hardware. We're gonna take two of our larger washers, put them on top of our plate, throw the M6 provided bolt through there. I'm gonna take one of our brackets, slot side, mount that to the back with one more washer on the back, and then an M6 cap nut. We get that just lightly tightened down. Do the same on the other side. So again, washer, washer, bolt through, one on the back, whoops, bracket, then one on the back, and then M6 cap nut once again. All right guys, so with our pod signal mounting brackets out at their outermost adjustment and kind of still loosely on there, we're gonna go ahead and take our two M6 fasteners with that small washer down on the bottom. One and two through our bracket. We're gonna go ahead and take our bracket, our closeout rather, mount that up. Then we're gonna come up, take our two larger diameter washers right there. Put those on top of these fasteners, and then just lightly hand thread on our M6 nylock nuts. All right, so with our bracket on and our closeout kind of loosely dangling there, I'm gonna do one thing right now. I'm gonna identify my left and right signals. You will notice on the back, they do have a logo. Now, that logo does read in the correct orientation if they are mounted correctly. So this is going to be my right signal. This is going to be my left signal. Now I am going to do something really quickly and just mark, just put a little black dot on the end of these connectors to know which one is my right. Now I'm also actually going to go ahead and mark one of these signal plug converters with an R, and then similar dots down on the bottom, just to signify that this is the right one. Just gonna avoid the headache of trying to swap them back out at the end of this process. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and mount up my right signal. We're gonna take the nut and the lock washer off of this. Now you will notice, it doesn't look like that nut's gonna come off, but actually, if you feed these bullet connectors through one at a time, so holding one, then kind of working the other one through, you will actually get that off. Same thing goes with the washer, but that does come off a little bit easier. So with that going on, we're going to go ahead and take our signal, put it into our pod signal mount. I'm going to go ahead and thread those guys through. Tighten this down just a little bit more so that it's not moving around on me so much. And then we're going to go ahead and take our lock washer once again. And then in the similar fashion, we're going to stagger the bullet connectors. Go 1, then 2. And we're going to thread this on to the back of the stem that is attached to this BL6 signal. Repeat the process on the left side. Don't have to worry about orientation just yet. We're going to worry about that a little bit later. But do make sure stuff's not kind of sagging around on you. So we do now have these two leads. We're going to want to go up. Whoops. We're going to want to go up through our closeout, through the sub tray, underneath the subframe, and out to a point that we can access. So we're going to go one at a time, up. Try to angle it up towards the right, and you'll actually see that these will start to poke out over here towards where we're going to get them to plug in. So I've got my left going. Let me get my right going in there. You may have to, once you get one in, feed these one bullet connector at a time, kind of like how you took the nut off. If you need to, you could try to get your closeout to fall down a little bit. Might help you out to get through the smaller portion. And sure enough, I'm starting to see it here in the subframe area. So with that going on, we are going to want to tighten these down a little bit more now. So we're going to grab our 10 and our 4, holding on to that kep nut in the back. Try to make sure that they're as perpendicular to the ground as possible. You can always come back and adjust. At this point, you can bring them in a little bit further as well if you want to hide some of that bracket. All right. And from there, we're actually going to go ahead, make sure that you did actually expose both your wires. I am now noticing that my second one did not come through fully, so I'm going to have to go in there and actually pull it out. Going to use some needle nose pliers and actually grab onto that thing. Obviously, being electrical components, I'm not tugging on these hard at all, just trying to get them to expose themselves a little, like that. So now I do have what I see to be here, my right. So I'm going to also take both of my connectors at this point, plug them into the black and the gray connector from the Kawasaki side. Now I do have this one marked as right, so I'm going to plug that into the gray. The gray is going to be your right signal, black is going to be your left. So I'm going to get these plugged in. Being my left, I'm going to connect it to my left. We're going to go on the signals, yellow, to on the converter, yellow. Black to black. Pretty straightforward on that. Same thing on the other one. Now, our signal converters do have these nice little sheaths on them, but those do tend to move around. So I would suggest at this point you go ahead and throw a little bit of tape on there. We are going to be taking this off, so I'm not going to do that myself, but if you guys don't want these to move around like that, slip off, I would suggest you throw a little bit of tape around these connectors. But as I said, I will not be doing that for the purposes of this video. So you're going to want to tuck those down in, and right now at this point I'd like to turn the bike on, find my key, oh, already in. Make sure that we have right and left. I left the right signal on. We do have right and left. As you guys can see, we have induced a hyperflash here. I'll touch on that a little bit later in the video, explain why and how to remedy that. But let's get together the rest of this motorcycle and finish this installation. So at this point, we're going to take our M4, we're going to take a 10mm socket, and we're going to tighten down our closeout bracket and everything else. All right, so we have that going on. I'm going to come back to the signals and get them in a position that I really, really like. I'm going to loosen this guy up a little bit more. I have a little bit too much of the pod signal mounting bracket exposed. So I'm going to push that in a little bit more. Tighten that down. We're a little bit off of perpendicular, so I'm going to loosen it up again. Bring it back down. Perfect. Now we are going to want to get out another wrench to tighten these signals down. Just kind of getting them in a position that I like. I like to keep the face of this lens as perpendicular to the ground as possible. So we're going to take a 14, open-ended 14. Just give this guy maybe a turn or two possibly, if you're feeling like you really want to tighten it down. There is a little locking washer there, so you don't have to worry about getting these too tight, especially because you are counter torquing against rubber, so it is going to actually keep that bolt in place pretty well. Just kind of make sure that they don't freely spin. I'm going to keep going because mine are. There we go. So again, try to keep the lens as perpendicular to the ground as possible. Hand tighten as far as you can, and then switch to the crescent wrench. Sometimes you need to hold these in place while you tighten down because they do want to tend to rotate in the direction that you're tightening them. So there we have it. Perpendicular, parallel with the other. I very much like what I have going on. We're going to get the side fairing back on, cover up some of these connections, get the seats on, and call this installation complete. So again, we're going to take our side fairing, come back past where we'd like to mount it, look for the little locking features in the sub tray and on the side fairing. Make sure we're going to engage all of them. Can be a little bit tricky once we're there. Oop. Make sure that front's down. Engaged, engaged, and there we go. We're all clicked in. We're going to throw back in our 3 fasteners that came out of this side. So that's the 2 M8 head, M6 bolts, and then the 1 black fastener that goes through the fairings. As with everything at TST, hand thread first, tools later. Bottom out, give a little bit of an 1/8, maybe even a 1/4 of a turn. That might even be a little much. But again, those are bodywork fasteners. They don't have to be torqued. They don't have to be super, super tight. Just make sure that they're not hand tightened. Give them a crank with the tool. We're going to throw our main seat back on and our passenger seat. Get that to click down in. We're going to do our last test, making sure that we have both right. It is the right when I press it. We have left when I press left. Perfect. Now, while this is going on, I'm going to touch on what you're looking at right here. This is what is called a hyper flash. Now, that is because when you took off the OEM fender, it had incandescent bulbs on there. Those bulbs pull a good bit more current than even the 6 high-powered LEDs that we have in here. So your bike is trying to tell you, hey man, you got a signal out, do something about it. It would let you know, you'd see it on the front signals or something like that. So that is what's going on. We do have a solution for you, and that is going to come in the form of our relay flasher. I will touch on that in another video. The installation can be a little convoluted, something you can do up in the front of the motorcycle that will take care of this hyper flash. I will also say, you don't have to do anything about this hyper flash if it doesn't bother you. You're not going to screw up your bike's electrical system. It won't let you know if you do have a signal out actually, but this one wouldn't do that either. So with that being said, if you guys don't mind the rate of the HyperFlash, you could leave your installation at this point and call it complete. So guys, that's gonna do it for this installation. It was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I think you guys could handle it at home. I was able to do it here in a very short amount of time. So if you do want to pick up these products, visit our website at tstindustries.com. If you guys like this video or like videos like this, go ahead and hit subscribe to our channel because we've got a ton of bikes to work on and tons of stuff to do with bikes actually. So give us a thumbs up on this video and check out the rest of our stuff. I'll catch you guys next time.